how can you not want to be a part of something like that when you're giving faith to a family in their lowest time? You can't stop. My dad was in a coma. My life changed on a dime. And in that moment, even though I had everything, family, friends, food, support, everything you could ask in a crisis, it was really ultimately our faith that got us through.
If you work in nonprofits, you already know this feeling. You can be doing exceptional work and still carry this constant pressure. The money, the measurement, the next year's growth, the next ask, the next gap. And somewhere in the grind, many nonprofit professionals forget the thing that got them involved in this work in the first place: joy. My guest today is Heidi Johnson, a nonprofit founder, executive, and host of Charity Matters, where she spent the last 15 years interviewing the people behind cause-driven work. But this conversation isn't about inspiration. It's about something that nonprofit leaders rarely speak about out loud: that service can be a cure, and it can also be a burden, especially when your work is tied to real human outcomes. We talk about helpers high, scarcity mindset, building an organization with volunteers, and how nonprofit leaders can continue going and growing without burning out. If you've ever wondered how to sustain a life in nonprofit work, or how to build a culture that keeps your people showing up, this one is for you.
We're talking about finding your skill set and kind of building your team like an entrepreneur, and except these entrepreneurs are all volunteers, right? And lots of times they're volunteers. When you're starting an organization, they're doing it as a volunteer. And so but it's no different than building a business, except you're not getting paid, right? You're getting paid in different ways.
Correct. You're getting paid in different ways, and the whole culture of building an organizational culture where those volunteers feel that they're perhaps recognized and certainly valuable, it's the only way they're going to keep showing up.
Correct. Absolutely. So it's really what I find fascinating is these people, these nonprofit founders, they're so passionate about what this is that they're trying to, this societal problem that they are trying to solve, that they pour everything. They change their careers, they change their lives, they do everything, but their passion is so contagious that they're able to ignite passion in other people, because other people want to be a part of what they're doing because they're so excited about it. People want and need that joy and enthusiasm in their lives, and they crave it. And so they join the team like, I'm a CPA. I don't know what this is, but you seem really excited about it, so I'd like to help you. And that's really the job of the founder, is to kind of collect, to be the leader, to collect the team, to get the message and keep going. So that's how they start. And so time ends up being the greatest gift, I think, in launching especially.
Right. But then there are the challenges, right? What happens when you hit those walls? Because every entrepreneur who has succeeded, by the way, entrepreneurs who don't succeed might not hit the wall, or they don't realize they hit the wall because they stop. But the people who persevere despite the obstacles and challenges, what are some of those walls? Or in your case, when you started that nonprofit in 2003, what were your biggest challenges and how did you overcome?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, there's so many. First, it's just getting your team up and going and making everything happen. But when you are first starting something, I know for me, I felt like a divine presence. I felt like doors kept opening. They kept saying you're on the right path. Unexplainable things kept happening that were offering us money and resources that were crazy. I'd be in the grocery store line and see this woman, and she would say, "Oh, Heidi, I heard you're having a Field of Dreams baseball event. How can I help you?" And I would say, "Oh, why don't you come?" She's like, "Well, do you want Kevin to help?" I'm like, "Kevin?" She's like, "Kevin Costner. I work for Kevin." Oh, no, like crazy things like that just kept happening that made me want to keep going. That to me felt like signs, the door is open, keep going, you're on the right path. So things like that keep you going when you're challenged. But then it comes back to the mission. For me, when I would, hear a story about how a chaplain changed a family's life or even an end of life situation, how can you not want to be a part of something like that when you're giving faith to a family in their lowest time? You can't stop. And that is one of the challenges on the operational side too, because we still have laundry, we still have our kids, we still have life, and but unlike if you're running a pencil factory and you don't make enough pencils that day, you can go home and you didn't make enough pencils. But when you go home and someone isn't getting fed or baptized or educated or whatever it is from your organization or medicine, there's a different weight for us that we have to keep going. And so that's also one of the challenges, is trying to find those life balances in being a giver and a helper.
For sure. I mean, you're touching on two critical issues. First of all, I just need to know, you can tell me after the show what supermarket you've been shopping at so you can meet people like Kevin Costner along the way. I guess that's one of the advantages of living in Los
Ralph's,
Angeles.
it's just Ralph's Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But Kevin wasn't in the store. His assistant was in the store.
Well, that's good enough for me. I mean, we'll keep that in mind for next time. But let's circle back there for a second, because you're talking about a number of critical issues. And you're talking here about the organization finding its way and overcoming some of these challenges, the perseverance. What about when it needs to grow and scale, not only in terms of the financial challenges that it needs to remedy or meet, but other challenges that are going to keep that organization relevant for an extended period of time?
I think for us, when we were starting, we were slow and steady wins the race, was kind of we were very intentionally slow and steady. We were trying to hire one chaplain. If every chaplain we hired could take 5 students, because Children's Hospital Los Angeles is a teaching hospital. So we became a certified department. So if you wanted to become a clinical pastoral educator of whatever denomination you practice, or your faith tradition, they could take these 5 students. So we could pay for one salary, and then we'd get 5 students that we could pay hourly to be on call night and weekends. So we were trying to build out a hospital department with the hospital support, but not their money. And so we were very strategic that we were going to take one chaplain at a time and keep building and building and building. Today we have, 37 chaplains. We have chaplains of faiths. I don't even know what they are. We have a $10 million interfaith center for families and staff. Our chaplains are part of the medical team, so they do actual rounds with the doctors.
Amazing.
Which is amazing. They're part of the healing team. And we do a lot we're a national template of pediatric chaplaincy, so children's hospitals all over the country follow our model. And then we do a lot for our staff, so to keep our staff so that they can keep their faith and keep going, whether it's Tea for the Soul or homemade cookies in the tea cart, where chaplains are debriefing with the staff when they've had patients go home healthy that they've cared for a long time, or they've lost a patient. And so we do a lot of things we've changed the culture of a 100-year-old hospital. And it was, 9 of us that were called to do this.
I mean, it sounds like you're doing something very innovative in the space of, again, this concept. I'm not really familiar with it, that the chaplains are doing the rounds with the doctors. I think that's fascinating. I'm assuming that's not commonplace.
No, it's not. It's not. But it's just an example of one. I mean, there's not a nonprofit for everything. And so when I started Spiritual Care is really when I realized, who are these people doing this work? And what is their backstory? And what happened to them that they're willing to do this? And I had a big backstory prior to starting this. And so that's when I really started Charity Matters and started interviewing people, because there wasn't CNN heroes, there wasn't People Magazine heroes among us. None of those things existed. And so I went and searched to find nonprofit founders and tell their stories. And that was, 15 years ago. So I've been on a mission to learn from these, really the angels among us, right? And learn the joy in all that they do. I am one, but I really love to learn from these incredible people as well. And I run a nonprofit as my day job. So I do still run, not that nonprofit, I run a different nonprofit. So I'm still in the business.
What nonprofit are you running today?
So I run a youth leadership organization called Task, where we train about 3,000 students here on leadership. So our college students train our high school students on leadership, and our high school students train our middle school students on leadership. And we have 3 employees, and we serve about 3,000 kids.
Amazing. You've learned the art of scaling. And for what it's worth, you mentioned how your husband studied the MBA. I've also studied MBA, but everything I've learned about business, I've learned on the job, almost
Right?
everything. And so that you figured out some systems, I think, that allow you to do this kind of work and scale. Heidi, you did mention that you have your own backstory, and I don't want to get too personal, but what is it that
Oh,
brought you to this work in the first place?
I'm happy to tell it. I tell it a lot. In November of 2002, my parents were celebrating 60th birthdays, and as I'm approaching my 60th, it's kind of surreal to me. They were with four couples going to Mexico on vacation, which they did every year, celebrating all the dad's birthdays. And they were leaving, having the best time of their life, and they were hit by a huge tour bus. And so every couple lost a spouse. My mother was killed instantly. My parents' best friends were killed. My dad was in a coma. And really, my life changed on a dime. And in that moment, all I really, even though I had everything, family, friends, food, support, everything you could ask in a crisis, it was really ultimately our faith that got us through this. My dad was in a coma for a month. My dad died twice and was resuscitated. But he woke up and his wife of 36 years was gone. All of his best friends were gone. The funerals had happened. And my sense of how precious time is, my sense of faith, what's important, everything shifted. I was 35 years old and everything changed. And so a year later, and my father went home from that accident on Thanksgiving Day, obviously a big holiday we have in the United States, and about gratitude. And we were happy. We were joyful, and we realized that joy and grief can coexist in that moment. And a year later to the day when I was asked to come to Children's Hospital, almost a year exactly to that, a friend of mine was the only chaplain, invited me down. I was in the hospital hall, and we met a woman who had a sick child who'd been in the hospital for months, and she told us he was going home on Thanksgiving Day. And in that moment, I was called to serve, and I knew it, and everything changed. My life has changed 100% since that moment,
So
in a good way.
there were these two
Changed for
critical
good.
moments. Yeah, there was the pain, and as you said, the ability to have joy despite the pain and the coping and that
Right.
journey. And then subsequently, there was that aha moment, if you will,
Aha
where
moment.
things
Yeah.
came together. Am I understanding correctly?
Right. Yeah. 100%. And when she said Thanksgiving Day and he was going home, this little boy who'd also been in a car accident, um, and been in the hospital for a month. And my friend who had been the chaplain had visited her every single day and had been her only emotional lifeline. And when she said he's going home Thanksgiving, I knew. And I never looked back. And it's just been, software business and all that stuff is gone. It was all about nonprofit and serving others. That's what I've been doing for
Absolutely
the last
phenomenal.
25 years or so. Yeah.
So it is phenomenal. And so this hits deep, but again, you've taken this very personal experience and built multiple things with really interesting innovation and scale. And I want to speak now not specifically about your work building the nonprofits, but again, get back to your own podcast and your ability to, first of all, your interest in other people. It's, in the nonprofit world, I think not only in nonprofit, but certainly in the nonprofit world, we mentioned the scarcity mindset. There's always more to do. Usually we're overtasked. And how do you make the time? It's only, yeah, and you've already mentioned that time is your, and I think it's true for everyone, but it's your most valuable resource, and you're acutely aware of that. And so you've chosen to give the time to allow other nonprofit leaders to tell their story. What's that all about?
Right. Well, it's selfish because, like I said, you get, and I don't do it, and no one who gives does it to get something. It's just the byproduct of what you receive, and so I'm not doing it to receive something. But once a week, at least, I have these conversations like I'm having with you, and they are the highlight of my week. I get more joy from learning other people's stories and from sharing their stories and from learning what they did, what they struggled, seeing the human spirit, seeing resilience, seeing faith, seeing kindness, seeing the best in humanity. I mean, it just makes you feel fantastic. And so Charity Matters is just it's such a place of joy. And I also do love, like you know, the entrepreneurial piece, because they're business people. Ultimately, they have to figure out how to become them. And it's amazing what people can do when they are really passionate about something. They can do anything. People can do anything.
It's so amazing because I really think just the fact that you give attention to other people, it, it, if I were to oversimplify for a second, I'm not so sure that it's an oversimplification, but it is a simplification. There's certain parts of our life experience where we're me focused and other parts of our life experience where we're other focused. We're just looking beyond ourselves. And I do agree with you that the most rewarding part of life is not when we're focused on ourselves. It's not when we're taking, it's when we're giving. And
No.
you and I both share that drive to want to share that with others and to let them
Right.
know. And at the same time, the byproduct, right? You're getting things from this. Can you give me an example of something that you've learned from an interviewee of yours that you really took to heart and it wasn't just another conversation, but maybe something that you brought into your own life?
Oh my gosh, I'm just
I'm
going
sure
through
there's
like
hundreds
the
of examples.
hundreds of conversations, like going through.
Think of
Um,
something maybe in the last month that you might
okay,
have done
in the
differently
last month,
because
in
you
the
had a
last
conversation
month.
with somebody and it clicked.
Well, I was thinking I talked to this really interesting woman who's going to be, I think, this week's podcast. Caroline's Causes. She had a handicapped child, and she actually ended up creating shopping carts for handicapped children. There's no shopping cart for a handicapped
Interesting.
child,
Wow.
and she didn't do it as a nonprofit. It ended up becoming a for-profit business. But then she realized that siblings of children, there's college scholarships for everything, but not for siblings of handicapped children who grow up with just a lot of extra burden in their family with having a sibling that has a disease or a health challenge. So she started this nonprofit called Caroline's Cause, where she gives to children who have siblings that are sick. But I have to say, and she mixes a for-profit and nonprofit model, which is also interesting. Like, she has a nonprofit part of her business, which I find fascinating, and I think it's healthy and good in a way. I really like that model. But I was at Target at the big store, and I
Okay.
walked in the other day. Yeah, the Target, and I walked in the other day, and I just was looking around for a handicapped cart, and I don't have my children are grown and gone. But I ended up talking to some. Do you guys have handicapped carts here? And I just started asking people why they don't have them, and is the manager going to get them? And it's something I've taken into my life. But these conversations stick to me. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, they stick to me. There's so many things that I look at causes differently. I look at homeless differently. I look at these people have educated me on so many topics that I have a different sense of things when versus just walking by someone, or they've changed my outlook on everything.
You
I
know,
can't everything.
yeah.
There's so many things.
Right. And I don't think it is any one thing. And I guess it's an unfair challenge because there's this kind of
So many.
muscle or series of muscles that we are developing when we're focused
Right.
on giving. And it's almost as
Right.
though every experience or conversation that we have is another deposit. And you're going to be fundamentally in a different place in life with more activism that you're involved in causes and organizations and nonprofits.
Right.
And it's like you just can't be elsewhere in life, but it's not necessarily the one thing. It's not the silver bullet. It is a process over time and a journey. So I identify with the challenge of putting your finger on it. So I really do appreciate that.
It's like everything in my life. If when people ask me for help or ask me for something, or will you join this board, or will you give to this cause, or will you, for me, or will you speak to this, or come, whatever it is. If I'm serving in some capacity, if it falls in service, then the answer is yes. And I try to say yes to as many things as I can. I mean, time constraints considered, but to me, it's all the same. Like, whether it's I'm doing the podcast, I'm doing the book, I'm running a nonprofit, I'm speaking at something, I'm on a board. I'm serving. I'm serving in whatever way I can serve. Those are the gifts that I have to give, and so those are the gifts that I give. Um, but I'm always open to serving, and I'm always joyful when I do.
You know, Heidi, you're a perfect poster child for you are what you give. And I also think, just to follow up on the previous point about this, cultivating a character of giving. I saw it when we first interacted over email, where I invited you to be on the podcast and you were excited. And I'd think, oh my gosh, she's done hundreds of conversations. She must be exhausted. But you're like, oh my gosh, you are what you give. You're my kind of person. And we've got to, and the enthusiasm, I think, and I think that's just a critical piece, because people think often that in the nonprofit world, there's the grind, and we talked about the challenges, and they're going to get to that point of burnout. And yet you have this way of turning it all around. And the more you do, the more you want to do. And oh my gosh, you don't want to say no to anybody. I'm always thinking about how to say the no the right way, and you're always thinking about how to say the next yes.
Right. No, absolutely. And and you know, obviously you can only do what you can do, and I've certainly said no to things before, but for the most part, I just ask myself, am I using my gifts? Am I serving in the right way? Is this serving someone or the greater good? And I say yes. And then it leads to just incredible conversations. It leads to, meeting interesting people. It always leads to something that I always get so much more than I give every time. I know it's cliche. I know it's so trite. And this isn't just for people in the nonprofit space. This is anybody. I mean, you can watch, even if you start on Instagram and you start following accounts that do kindness, and you start, searching for kindness things. And the more kindness things you click on, the more the algorithm will feed you kindness things, of people doing acts of kindness. The more you see it, the more you want to do it. Just, you have to start feeding yourself and surrounding yourself with that. And that's I'm very intentional with trying to be in that space, in a positive space.
I really appreciate what you're saying, because I'm a call to action kind of person. I like to take big ideas and turn them into something very real and concrete. And so we also, by the way, on this program, You Are What You Give, we make sure every week to do a weekly giving challenge, so that the people in this growing community can have an opportunity to find a way to give a little bit more, a little bit better. And more is usually not, it's actually not going to be quantity. It is a quality thing. It's about the way that we're giving to give more effectively. Yep. So, and feel free to use it. But
You're speaking to me. I love that.
Well, and I'm honored that it is well received, and I'm just going to follow what you're saying and encourage anybody who's interested in the show notes and the comments. If you want to tag some people, some organizations, some of those accounts on any kind of page, social media that you like following, share it with the community here. Let people know who to be following, because yes, it is that day-to-day, week-to-week deposit of, we're in this together. We're all part of this greater giving community. And I think that this is a personal belief. If we all were a little bit more focused on giving, then by definition, do the math, the world is going to be a better place. If we're less focused on ourselves and what we're taking, then the net gain for planet Earth, humanity, society, the universe, whatever you want to refer to, it's just going to be more giving, more gain.
That's right. That's right. I heard a great acronym the other day, and I'd not heard it before, but I'm stealing it. It's HOPE. Help one person every day.
Love it.
Help one person every day. And it's that simple. It's that simple.
It is. I love how you bring it down to the basics, and I feel like there's so much to be learning. And hopefully, and this is another point you made, I want to close with this point and then just find out how people can be in touch with you. But you use something that's along the lines of a term that I like to use, which is just being a lifelong student of giving. And the fact that you're learning from 100%. Others, and again, attentive to their journeys and figuring out a way to help amplify their stories, I think is very powerful. I'm late to the game. You've been at this for 15 years. There's so much to learn from you. How can people follow you? How can people learn from you?
All right, you can find me at charity-matters.com as our website. Don't forget the dash, charity-matters.com. And you can also find us on Instagram at Charity Matters. And if you want to read my book, you can find Change for Good on Amazon or anywhere where you find your books. And our podcast, Charity Matters, is on Spotify, Apple, and any platform that you listen to your podcast. So I welcome you to come and join us. And as I said, Avi, I hope that there are more people doing what we do. The more people who spread the word of goodness, the better off this world's going to be. And I'm really thrilled that you're in the space, and I'm really thrilled to be here. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Heidi. And that, I think, is a challenge. We'll lead, not now, but shortly, into our Giving Challenge of the Week, because let's get more people to show that interest. You know, the algorithms, they're following.
Right.
And if everybody's looking for things about giving and not just looking about how to get rich quick,
Right.
they're looking for giving, they're looking for generosity, they're looking to serve.
Right.
Guess what? The algorithms are going to figure that out, and eventually we will shape the conversation. So Heidi, you are a pioneer in this, and so much to learn from you in this lifelong journey of learning about giving. So Heidi, keep up the good work. Such a pleasure, such an honor. Looking forward to being in touch with you.
Well, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. What a wonderful conversation. Thank you for having me.
Heidi has been cultivating a conversation that doesn't have a loud enough voice. The cause-driven giving conversation. So this week's giving challenge is simple. Teach the algorithms that giving matters. Join Heidi in celebrating nonprofits and shaping the online conversation. Focus on 3 quick actions this week. Number 1, search giving. Type one phrase or term into YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google. Something like nonprofit leadership, how to give, tithing, volunteering, major gifts. Then click one piece of content that draws your interest. Number 2, subscribe to a giving-focused podcast. It could be Charity Matters, it could be this podcast, You Are What You Give, or any other podcast that you trust. Subscriptions tell the platform, I want more of this. Number 3, strengthen the network. In the comments or replies, share one giving account that you follow. A nonprofit, a creator, a leader, a foundation, a community page. Anyone who's in the business of elevating giving and its profile. Because if we want a world that talks less about getting rich quick and more about giving well, then we can't just complain about the algorithm. We can take some initial steps to train it together. As we close, I want to thank Victoria Hurst, whose generosity and support make the You Are What You Give podcast possible. And thanks to you for watching or listening and for being part of this community. We'll see you next time.